So today I'm going to be talking about the analysis of the Place of Hope, which is a nonprofit organization, and I'll be completing a financial analysis of what I've been able to obtain. So quickly going over what is the Place of Hope. Place of Hope is a faith-based state-licensed children's organization that provides services to high-risk individuals. They provide services to children and families who have fallen victims of abuse, abandonment, and neglect. They are dedicated to providing a stable, loving, and nurturing environment and supporting those children then who have become involved in the state custody, following their reunification and pre-adoptive placement as well as post-emancipation from care. So they continue to develop these successful programs in order to meet the ever-changing needs of the children who come into care. So the mission is written on their website, and it states that they're dedicated to providing a stable and loving environment for hurting kids and their families. They are committed to meeting desperate needs in the community by sharing God's love and placing hope in their lives, one child and one family at a time. They want to envision trusting children and families in their care. They want to strive for hope. They want to strive for potential, for healing and belonging rather than the opposite, and for what can be done in the future. These are some of the programs that they offer. They offer several service programs that include family-style foster care, family outreach and intervention, maternal care, human trafficking, and transitional housing. And I'm just going to go over them briefly so that you guys have a better understanding of what it is exactly that they do. So beginning with their family-style foster care, these are situated within a safe and serene gated neighborhood where professionally trained live-in cottage parents devote their full time and talents to 6 children. They believe in only having 6 children versus the traditional foster care, which houses 12. They want to promote stability to these children, and they want to keep large sibling groups together, which is very difficult to do in a traditional style foster care. They provide family and outreach intervention, which includes supporting and blessing children and families that have been dealing with the child welfare system, meeting emergency and family preservation needs, and expanding their ministry as they are a faith-based agency. They also offer clothing, furniture, and food closets, as well as seeds of hope and awareness of child abuse and neglect and prevention, and they use child advocates through their Voices of Hope to kind of further the education. They also provide a maternity care, which is through the Jones Cottage, which provides case management, independent living, parenting classes, and access to medical care for these mothers and mothers-to-be that are involved in the system, which is extremely important because, according to their website, 1 in every 2 girls who spends time in the foster care system will be pregnant by the age of 19. So they do feel that it is important that these girls who have not had that help in the past, engage in residential care supervision and to help influence them to meet their emotional, social, and spiritual needs for their own children. They also offer human trafficking, which I think is extremely important because it's become one of the most modern day forms of slavery, and because Palm Beach County ranks the 3rd highest in the county, they have taken an initiative to provide comprehensive support services for these victims of labor and sex trafficking throughout all of their programs, and these have been listed below. They provide families with all of the services that are needed to continue working with these girls and boys. They also offer transitional housing for those individuals that are going to be aging out of the system, and that's mostly kids between the ages of 18 and 25. They will service them afterwards. So they provide affordable housing and training skills and things such as that because they have not really been given anything as they were living in a foster care. So they measure their impact by asking these 5 questions. What is the organizational aiming to accomplish? What's the organization's key strategies for making this happen? What is the organization's capabilities for doing this? And how will they know if they are making progress? And what have they not done so far? They use this by tracking it through an educational coordinator, and they will use a tracking table, and they will chart all of their findings. So some of the background on Place of Hope is it is located in Palm Beach County, and I have listed the address right there in Palm Beach Gardens. They have several programs that I've listed before, and they are all in Palm Beach County, but due to the sensitivity of their location, the addresses are not disclosed. The Place of Hope does rely heavily on the federal funds, the state of Florida funds, and Palm Beach County funds. They do have 91 paid staff and 50 volunteers. They do get a lot of donated goods, which most of it is not monetary. It is the time spent by the volunteers. Currently, they have 36 children in their family cottages, 12 in their sanctuary holdings, 8 boys in their emergency shelter, and 10 women in their maternity homes. So, based off their financial statement in their fiscal year of 2014, they had an annual revenue of $5,667,327, and their expenses were $5,061,927, which showed a surplus of $605,400, which is good because it does show that they were not in any kind of deficit that year. So, where do they get their funding? They get their funding from various revenues such as stocks, mutual funds, corporate bonds, fixed income, international equity funds, hedge funds, real estate trusts, donated goods, and related party transactions. Now, these donated goods are from service areas, fundraising, charitable contributions, and these third-party related funds, or the third-party transactions, are coming from other programs such as the Villages, the Treasures, Thousand Hills, Haven, and Christ Fellowships, who all have board members who will contribute as well. So the methodology used for this was I obtained the use of their financial statement from the fiscal year of 2014, the use of their 990 form that they posted on their website, observation and analyzations from several articles that were written about the organization that I found. They were articles posted by local news that include Sun Sentinel, Florida Weekly, and Palm Beach Post, and it outlines their interactions with the organization. So this, I used the most recent year of 2016 to get a better understanding of what is currently going on within the organization, and it's going to measure the current impact that the organization has on our local community. I also have personal knowledge of the organization based off of where I currently work, and I kind of use this as a guiding force for me, as well as interactions with the employees that I know and that I have reached out to as well to kind of obtain more information. So with the data and analysis, I interviewed Bonnie Jo, who is employed by the Place of Hope through the Christ Fellowship organization, specifically with human trafficking. So I asked her several questions surrounding her experience with the organization. She did express that she's never had any issues with the organization, and whenever there was an issue, they were always really receptive. Because the human trafficking initiative is fairly new, she was able to really kind of explain to me, how they were really good about keeping these girls and boys confidential and providing her with a lot of information and anything that she ever really needed. So I spoke with Deidre Suarez, who's a volunteer coordinator, and I kind of asked her questions regarding volunteers because that information wasn't really readily available. And so she quickly responded in a timely manner and provided as much information to me as possible. I looked through the organization's website, which was easily navigated, and I was able to obtain all information needed. I used the contribution ratio because I felt that it would show the effectiveness of the fundraising. This is beneficial because this is the type of organization is specifically with the social services realm, and they utilize a lot of donations and fundraising. I also wanted to use the current size ratio to help get a better insight as to where the organization lacks in terms of their contributions to their revenue. So the findings. So after looking at their financial statement, I did see that their assets equaled their liabilities, which does show that they have a very healthy organization. They did not have any deficits, and I compared that to 2 different shelters, one in Atlanta and one in Tennessee, that are very comparable, and both of these had, over $100,000 in a deficit, whereas they had a surplus of over $600,000. Their contribution ratio showed to be a 0.54, which is in the typical range, as the book did describe that with social services it should be between a 0.5 and a 0.6. So I did find that to be very, very good. Their current size ratio was 2%, which I did not think was as high as it should be, considering that they do get a lot of donations. They could use some improvement in this area, as the grants showed to be like where they're getting most of their information. Now, with regards to the analyzation of the articles, the Place of Hope is one out of the 51 U.S. charities that scored 100 on the Charity Navigator website, compared to Boys Town, who scored a 91, Covenant House, who scored a 79, and Brookwood, who scored an 86. So all of this showed a very positive interaction, especially with the interview with Bonnie Jo and Deirdre. So my recommendations essentially are based on their scoring. I do think that they could benefit from more fundraising, and no other recommendations were made based on the audit, as I quoted the completion of the audit. These are the references that I got from the websites and the book for my recommendation. So as stated before, the Place of Hope is really a good organization, and I would definitely look at, making sure that I would volunteer, and they show to be very healthy.